政治の中枢に関わってきたという大物という方たちがほとんど落選。
And the reason I could say this is that the people, the major politicians, the major power brokers in the LDP who have basically controlled politics in this country for the last 64 years, most of these big names lost their seats in the election.
わずかに日本の今の選挙制度の、いい悪いは別にいたしまして、比例重複という制度で救われた方が何人かおります。
As you may know, many of these major political figures did lose their seats in the single-seat electoral districts. However, because we have a proportional representation system as well, many of these politicians who lost their district seats were able to regain their seats in the proportional part.
しかしそのベテランの方たちも今ご覧いただきましたように、自分たちの自民党の仲間が、特に小泉チルドレンと言われた若い人たちがほとんど消えてしまいました。
However, as you can see in this chart, even though some of these big names were fortunately able to regain their seats, although they are remaining as died members, they have lost many of their colleagues. In particular, they have lost many of their young colleagues who were elected in the post-privatization election, who were referred to quite often as the Koizumi children.
私は小泉さんとか安倍さんとか福田さんとか麻生さん、この方たちが自民党の中から壊したという言い方をしましたが、本当に今回のこの選挙を形作ったのは1億数千万の日本人です。
I said earlier that it was Mr. Koizumi, Mr. Abe, Mr. Fukuda, and Mr. Asa who together from within the LDP destroyed the LDP. However, I think another way of looking at it, and the true way of looking at it, is that it is the 100 million plus people of Japan who destroyed the LDP.
毎日生放送の中で生活をしておりますと、いろんな情報が入ってまいります。その情報のほとんどがどうやら風が吹き始めた。どんな風なのか。
Every day, of course, I am involved in live broadcasts of news, and because we are doing live broadcasts, we get lots and lots of information that comes into us. And the information that was coming into us before the election was that a wind is beginning to blow. What kind of wind, I asked?
その風は自民党とか民主党とかいうそういう風ではなくて、私が感じましたのは、これからの日本を世界の中でどうしたらいいのかなと思う日本の国民の皆さんの風だと思います。
I felt that it was not necessarily a wind that was supporting the LDP or that was supporting the DPJ or blowing against either party. What I thought was that this wind was basically a wind of the Japanese people, a wind where the Japanese people for the first time began to wonder, what should Japan do in the world? What should Japan's role and place be in the world?
戦後64年かかって日本にこんな大きな風が吹くとは私も想像できませんでした。日本人がこんな大きな風を起こしたということに私は素晴らしいなという思いです。
When we consider the long post-war history of Japan, 64 years, and we have not seen a wind of this magnitude, I had not expected that in this election we would see this huge wind blowing. I had not expected that the Japanese people would be able to create such a huge wind. I think it is a wonderful thing that we did have this wind blow.
日本人が今回起こしたこの風は一体何を求めているのかというのを多くの外国から日本に取材に来ている皆さんに取材をして感じて、そして世界に発信してもらいたいと思います。
I have a fervent request to make of all of you here, those of you who are journalists from other nations. Please try to do as much research and interview as many people as possible and try to find out what it is that the Japanese people wanted from this election, what it is that they expect and hope for in the future. And please, once you understand this information, these truths, please transmit and convey this information to your home countries.
日本は憲法というものを持っています。
As you know, the Japanese people have, of course, a constitution.
第9条という項目に日本は国と国との紛争に武力は一切使わない。
You also know that in the Constitution there is an article called Article 9, and in this Article 9 it is stated that Japan may not use any kind of military force or military power in order to solve conflicts between countries.
紛争の解決に軍隊は絶対に使わない。
In other words, to resolve conflicts, no military forces may be used.
素晴らしい憲法だと思います。
I believe this is a wonderful constitution.
交戦権を永久に放棄する。
It is a constitution in which the Japanese people renounce war, the use of military force.
こういう憲法、こういう決まりを持っている国は日本以外の世界にどこにありますか？
I must ask you, is there any other nation in the world that has this kind of philosophy, that has this kind of constitution?
あなた方のお国はこういう憲法をお持ちですか？
For those of you from other nations here today, do any of your nations have this kind of phrase or article or clause in your constitutions?
日本が誇れるものはたくさんございます。藤山、芸者、踊り、日本史、いろいろ着物、たくさんございます。しかし、世界に冠たる日本の憲法は、軍隊というものを持たない、絶対に交戦をしない、そういう憲法を持っているんです。
I think there are many, many things that Japan as a nation can be proud of. We have beautiful Mount Fuji, we have geishas, we have great history, etc. But I believe what we can truly, truly be proud of is the fact that we have a constitution that is quite unique in the world, one in which we say we will renounce war, we will renounce acts of aggression, we will not use military force.
核に至っては、作らない、持たない、持ち込まない。
We also have very, very strong philosophies or principles in regard to the use of nuclear weapons. We will not manufacture them, we will not possess them, and we will not allow them to enter the nation.
作らない、持たない、持ち込まないというのも、これは素晴らしいことだと思います。
I think these principles, these non-nuclear principles, are a wonderful thing as well.
プラハでアメリカのオバマ大統領、我々は核を持ち、核を使用した国、そのアメリカは絶対に核の廃絶に向かって進んでいこうというプラハ宣言をしました。
Recently in Prague, President Obama of the United States gave a speech in which he said, we are a nation that have possessed nuclear weapons. We do possess nuclear weapons, and in the past we've actually used nuclear weapons. However, we would now like to become a nation that will eventually rid itself of nuclear weapons. This kind of Prague declaration, I think, was a beautiful thing.
素晴らしいことだと思います。
I think it is a wonderful statement that he's made, a wonderful movement that he's begun.
そういう日本が戦後64年間、こういう政治の変革をさせた国民が、
The fact that we have people in Japan, a population that has lived by these wonderful principles for the past 64 years, and now these people have created another huge positive change in which they have voted for something different in this past election, is a wonderful thing also.
おそらく日本人が求めていたものがそこにあるんじゃないかと思います。
I think that in all of the things that I've said, there is a kind of theme. There are things that Japanese people have always pursued.
16日に総理大臣になるであろうと言われている鳩山さんが果たしてどういう政治をするのか。
In regard to Mr. Hatoyama, who is probably going to become the next Prime Minister of Japan on September 16th, the question arises, what kind of politics will he create for us, will he show for us?
鳩山さんの政治手腕一つがおそらくすぐに評価される時が来ると思います。
I think there will be a very, very quick assessment of his political skills. Very, very quickly, in other words, his actions will be judged.
日本は来年参議院選挙を迎えます。
In other words,